In this video, I'm going to show you how to navigate effectively through the eBay customer service system when you call in and are looking for help with your eBay account. So without any further ado, let's go. Okay, so you need to call and talk to someone at eBay, right? And so whether you're a buyer or a seller, it can be fairly frustrating. Now I'm going to speak to the seller perspective because I think most of you sellers are probably tuning in to maybe alleviate some frustration for when you have to call eBay, and eventually if you're handling your business on eBay and following up the way you should, you will be contacting eBay at some point. So first thing is first. Let me just kind of give you some feedback as to some of my experience. And I am pretty much, I can tell you that there's not too many eBay sellers out there with the sort of experience that I have when it comes to call centers. So I worked for the last 26 years up until last January 2019. I worked with a very large nationwide USA call center for 26 years, and the last 10 of that was in management as a supervisor. So not only did I work on the front line taking phone calls, providing customer service to customers, I also as a supervisor coached and worked with other supervisors in my industry to give them more better skill set and to provide better customer service. So it's funny because I kind of listen for things when I call eBay. I listen for things that are said and how things are done, and it sort of strikes me differently than it may strike you. But I am very versed in how the infrastructure in the call center works and how the nuances, the various things that maybe you don't pick up on. But hopefully I can help you navigate next time you call eBay, navigate a little better. So when you first call in, you're dealing with something called a VRU. That's a voice recognition unit. That basically is the automated system. It's trying to address your needs without you being able to deal with without you being able to deal with a human being. Okay, and so if they can actually address your need without talking to a human being, then eBay has achieved their goal. And most companies are sort of doing this where they're trying to get you to avoid speaking to someone. So sometimes you'll get stuck in a loop back and forth, and it's like pulling out teeth just to get someone on the phone to speak to. And if you're like me, I don't like dealing with robots or VRU systems. I want to deal with someone I can have a natural conversation with, okay? And so the first thing it asks you is it wants that 10-digit passcode, right? And so I've never established one, even though I probably should. I call more than I need to. But I tell them I don't have one. And then it asks me for my zip code, and I give them that zip code. And then it asks me, well, how can they help? And I'm going to tell you later in the video, so stay tuned, and so don't go anywhere. I'm going to give you a key tip on how you can get someone in the United States every time. But in the meantime, I would normally say seller support, something like that, or representative. And I believe 2 or 3 times you have to say it, because they're going to try to probe you and they're going to try to steer you into staying with the automated system, right? But if you continue to say representative, after the second or third time, it will direct you and transfer you to most likely someone in the Philippines. There's 2 offices in the Philippines. You may get lucky and speak to someone in the United States, but it's not likely. So what you'll find is that you get a representative who gives you a first name that probably isn't their first name, but that's really not relevant. But you'll find that they're very nice. They sound really friendly. and they seem like they care. And that's a good thing, right? But once you start speaking to most of these representatives, now I got to tell you, there's a couple exceptions that I've dealt with overseas that were really good and actually helped me solve my problem. But for the most part, you're going to get someone who is friendly but not knowledgeable, okay? And that's a shame. And I blame eBay for that. There's more of a focus on being friendly than having substance. And that causes what we call in the call center industry a high effort customer experience, okay? And what that means is that for every minute more that a customer has to spend, for every time that they have to repeat themselves, for every back and forth they have to deal with the rep that's unnecessary, creates a high effort for that customer. So in the call center industry, we're striving for, and really in your business with eBay, what you're striving for whenever you interact with the customer is a low effort customer experience, okay? And that is, one where you're proactive and you anticipate and you're listening actively to solve the customer's problem. And what I find is that you deal with very nice people that are very scripted, okay? And they sometimes get very opinionated, and they rarely are able to quote you the correct policy or show you where that policy is, for that matter. So what I find is that, like for instance, seller protection, there's a lot of representatives overseas that are not on board with how seller protection works, right? So check out my other video on that whole thing, seller protection. We're dealing with the 30-day free versus not free returns, right? But it's their idea of feedback removal and the policy that allows you to retain up to 50% if you're a top-rated seller and have your returns set correctly, right? So dealing with situations like that, you don't get the same answer. You may get one answer with this rep, and then after explaining it, you ask to speak to someone else. Now, that's the number one thing that I would recommend to you. Always, if something is not right, doesn't seem right, you're not getting the answer that you expected, ask to speak to someone else. And they'll end up transferring you to a representative in a different department. But if you get the representative that understands the policy, they will solve your problem. Unfortunately, it's my finding that sometimes when you get someone in that other department and they're in a specialty department, you still end up with people who are very friendly but do not quite fully understand how to apply the policy to your problem, right? And then they put you on hold a number of times, and it's just this merry-go-round. There's been times I've been on the phone with 3 or 4 representatives in the same call before I actually got someone on the phone that knew what I was talking about and understood the policy enough to be able to apply a solution, right? And so always, number 2 tip that I'll give you is always get the name, jot down the time and the date of who you spoke with, because every call on eBay is recorded. Okay, they say for training purposes, but really it's for to protect what information they're giving out, right? So if you state that an agent cursed at you or they gave you a particular policy which is different than what is correct, you can give them that information and they can go back and listen to the call to verify what you're telling them. So always do that. Now, the tip that I want you to follow, but really do it in a way where this is how you're going to get someone from the United States every time. If you are like me, I'm in managed payments. And every time I had an issue with managed payments, I would say managed payments, right? And every time I'd receive a representative in either Texas or Utah. Those are the two call centers in the United States. And I found that all I had to do was say manage payments, and I would get a U.S. rep. And the reason why you want a U.S. rep is because not only are they, for the most part, friendly, right? They know policy. Many have worked in various departments within eBay, so they have that experience. But they can have what I don't get when I call overseas, and that is a natural, unscripted conversation. Okay? And so most of the time, I will call and ask for managed payments. And when I asked the representative about that, they kind of shrugged it off like job security, right? I can at least have a natural conversation with these USA reps. That's why it's so important. Unfortunately, if you have to be escalated, let's say you're dealing with a situation and you're not quite agreeing with the answer, you're going to be sent over to possibly the dispute department, the escalation team in the Philippines. And the sad thing about that is if you are in managed payments like I am, those representatives do not have a firm grasp on how managed payments works. And a lot of times they'll refer to PayPal and they'll refer to things that don't apply to your situation, and it's very frustrating. So I really think eBay needs to really step up their game in providing a better level of seller support because right now it's very lacking. And it was something I was hopeful to bring up at eBay Open this year. And I'm not going to be able to do that because, of course, if you don't know, it's been canceled for this year. And I was hoping to be able to talk to whoever I could to try to give them some insight on what would help us sellers benefit from dealing with customer service when we had a problem. So I don't know how I'm going to get my message through to them because feedback doesn't work when you talk to a supervisor. It just doesn't. Nothing changes. So that's my continual problem with, and I lose so much time in dealing with eBay. It's just like pulling out your teeth. And I hope that the information that I provided to you gives you some insight and helps you feel a little bit more comfortable in working with eBay and knowing that that first answer you get isn't the last answer. You can always ask to speak to someone else. And I find that because one representative will give you one answer and another representative could give you another, don't use it to fish for the answer you're looking for. That's not the purpose. But if something doesn't seem right, don't take that as the final answer. Follow up, find the answer, fight for your business because we're here to make money, and I'm not going to lose money. I'm not going to lose business because someone thinks they know the answer, but yet they don't. It's unfortunate, but happens all too often. So I'm going to leave it at that. Please, if you like this video, please give me some thumbs up. Subscribe. I need subscribers. Doing those things helps YouTube know that I'm doing a good job and others will be able to benefit from this information. Okay, click the notification bell so that I provide new content at least once a week. That will be notified to you. And if you have any other ideas or any experiences that we all can benefit from, please leave a message down below and share it with everyone because we're all learning this together. And I'm just trying to share my experiences with you to help you benefit and grow your eBay business. So with that, we'll talk to you next time.